HBs, Erin here with another episode of Heaving Bosoms, a romance novel podcast in which two friends get together and catch up and discuss and giggle about a new romance novel each week. Or in this case, part 2 of a romance novel, which is The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. So if you need a little recap before we start off this episode, we've got our heroine, Emma Gladstone, who has been working as a seamstress for many years because her father, a vicar, cast her out when she was 16 years old. And we've got the Duke of Ashbury, who was a war hero in the Battle of Waterloo and had a mortar explode, badly burning and scarring half of his body. So he got dumped by his first betrothed because she couldn't stand to look at him anymore because he was so badly scarred. And the person who made her wedding dress was Emma, the seamstress. And so she showed up demanding to be paid by the Duke. And the Duke decided, okay, since no one can look at me and I'm not going to get a bride the old-fashioned way, I will offer to marry this seamstress. So Ashbury and Emma have gotten married. They've had several false starts at having sex. And this most recent time, they were interrupted by Emma's junkyard cat, and the Duke has gone off into the night to walk off his sexual frustrations, as he often does. So I think that's where we left it, and yeah, let's get into it.
So then she meets up with Davina the next day, Davina the pregnant girl, and they make more plans about them both going to Swanley. She's hoping that she can be pregnant by Christmas so that she and Davina can go and be confined together. Because she finds out that she's not allowed to go anywhere at all until she's pregnant. She needs to stay at the house, trying until she's pregnant. So they get dressed and go to dinner later. She finds out the staff are making more plans for them. She's like, do you find yourself clumsy? She's like, oh, Mary says this. And they're like, we just don't know. Maybe you should trip and fall into his arms. Yeah. She's like trying to create these meet cutes,
maybe
essentially.
They would lock them in the attic for a while. They're like, how do we get them to fall in love? Otherwise, our employment is terrible. Like, he's got to get nicer.
Yeah. And so then she goes down to dinner and he is not there. So she's looking around for him, and he's sitting in front of a cold fireplace because the cat is hiding there. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, shh, I am going to trap this beast because nothing is getting in between us tonight. And she's like, Like, she is so charmed by this, and I don't blame her.
He's been there for 4 hours, he says, trying to get the cat to come out so she can trap it.
Oh my God.
He puts it in a box with like air holes but nothing else, and he's like, he'll be fine.
No, not yet.
Oh, I thought he did.
He does, but as they're sitting there, she finds out about why he curses in only Shakespearean curses, because that's what his father told him to do, and he loves his father more than anything else. In fact, as he was going into his wedding ceremony, he thought to himself, like, turns out I am marrying for love. It's just not her love. It's the love of my father. It's the love of his legacy. It's the love of, wanting to make sure I fulfill my duty. And then she alludes more to the boy, the man, the kid.
She talks more about her father turning her out.
Yes.
That situation, but doesn't reveal the whole thing.
And then they catch the cat. He puts it in a box with air holes and a salmon sandwich because she goes and gets sandwiches for them, and they have a little picnic in front of the fireplace to get this fucking cat, and it's so cute. And then after he catches the cat, he looks at her and he goes, all right, you have 3 minutes. She's like, what? For what? And he's like, well, I'm going to go upstairs and change my shirt and wash my hands, and then I will be in your room.
I didn't think room was what we were going to say. Be like, in your vagina.
You know what? You got to keep people on their toes, Erin. I'm not always going to go blue. So she turns and dashes up the stairs. It is so cute. They're both like itching to be together. So she runs up the stairs, and as he comes into the room, he doesn't knock, he doesn't do anything. He just strides right into her room. She's like furiously trying to unbutton her clothes, and he picks her up by the waist and tosses her onto the bed. and all of my heart palpitations palpitated. And then she's like still trying to get her clothes off, and he's like, don't bother. And then he gets up and he straddles her hips and he rips her bodice down, and the seamstress in her, God bless her, she thinks, oh God, I can mend it tomorrow. And she's like thinking about the thread she'll use, and then he starts kneading her bosom, not like dough at all. And and then I love this because he goes, you like this? And she kind of can't handle herself, and she's like, yes. And he's like, good, I just want to make sure before I do this. And then he gets down and he licks her. And and she's like, I thought you had rules. And he goes, it's not kissing, it's licking and sucking. And then more things happen. And man,
that passage I read might have been from this night, but both nights were great.
Oh, all the nights, all of them were really, really good. Every time we saw something, it was excellent. Wait. So then she tries to touch him again, and he... Yeah, this is where he threatens to tear her to the bed.
I just hadn't highlighted much from the night before, and so it kind of bled into this night. I apologize.
Fair. I don't care. It's fine. I mean, it does really heighten it since he's been all up on her titties.
Yeah.
And then, and so he calls her incredible, like you heard. And then he goes down and he touches her a little bit, and then she felt his tongue there, she says. And it was excellent. And then the perspective shifts seamlessly. It does this throughout the book. It did this in the kiss. It goes from her perspective, and then it immediately shifts to his, and it's perfect. Same here. And I love his commentary here. I think I have it. Yeah. So his commentary here about like bringing a woman to orgasm. He goes, bringing a woman to orgasm had always been a particular pleasure for him. With most women he'd known, even if no deep affection was involved, a climax required a bit more than a skilled tongue and fingers. It took closeness, trust, intimacy. Feeling a woman come beneath his hand, his mouth, his body, well, it made him feel like king of the planet, of course. But it also made him feel connected, human. Now he was a monster. What woman would allow this scarred, repulsive face between her thighs? Emma would, apparently. Whether that labeled her a lunatic or a fool, he would decide later. She was likely both. He'd convinced her to marry him after all. And I just love it because it's, first of all, it's so true. There has to be something, unless you're really working at it. I don't know. But I just love the commentary, and I love the thought it shows from him. You know what I mean? Especially for like an England Times chap. It was just so good. The sex scene in here was so good.
The next thing that happens is he goes out again, doing some vigilante stuff.
Yeah, except now he's just like skipping in the town. He's just doing a jaunt.
Can't wait to find somebody to beat up.
I don't even know if he wants to beat anybody up here. He's just going for a goddamn walk this time. And he runs into Tom. Tom is so cute.
So he's like an 11-year-old boy, and he's just like, hey, oi. You're the monster of Mayfair. And he's like, no, I am not.
Of course like, not.
No, you definitely are. Like, you're definitely fearsome and ugly, just like the papers said. You got your hat, you got your cloak. And he's just like, get out of here. And he's like following him. And he's like, well, where are we going tonight? What's going on? And he's like, I just want to,
there is no we.
Yeah. I just want to live my life. And the kid's like, I want to see you beat up somebody who like really deserves it.
Yeah. Should we find like a bad dude?
Yeah. And so he just takes his cane and pushes it on the boy's chest and like topples him over backwards. And he's like,
pushes him over.
You got it.
Yeah. Now you've witnessed it. Okay, and also my note here in my Kindle is, why is that boy out so late? Because I am a mom now, apparently.
He's got good parents who let him do the things he needs to do.
I'm sorry, in England Times England? No.
This is he's making good friends.
People are
I'm sorry. They let him run around at night.
Mayfair.
And you know what he gets to do? He meets a duke. He's probably going to give him some kind of like I don't know, house. Listen, it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah. This kid. Oh boy. All right. So then next day, Emma goes to tea. She finds friends. A friend across the square, I don't know, messages her. Oh my God.
She texts her, hey girl,
She texts her,
we've seen you from across the
I know.
Wouldn't that be great? Just in the middle of this thing is a text.
Oh my God. So a woman just told me this story. She was writing a note and her 8-year-old was asking her about it. He's like, oh, is that a text? And she was like, no, it's a note. And then she went out to get the mail and he goes, oh, Mom, is that how you used to get your email? So good.
There was a great video on the internet. And I know there's a lot of these like clickbait videos like millennials trying to figure out blah, blah, blah. But there is actually a really good one where kids try to tell you what a payphone is. Or like you try to tell them, like basically like 10-year-old children see a payphone and they're like, what's it for? And you're like, well, if you need to make a call and, you know, you're out and about. And they're like, but you'd have your phone. And they're like, well, say your phone is dead. And like, but then you just use somebody else's phone. Like they just don't understand like why they would ever use one of these. Anyway.
Yeah. So during this tea, they come up with more nicknames, which is super cute. Okay, and they like instantly become friends.
These friends are great. So they got 3 friends. One is a baker.
Excellent
one is
side
a
characters.
A
clockmaker,
time setter,
clock mistress. She's a time wizard. Oh,
so when I was in DC, my friend Andy and Andy listens to the podcast. Hey, Andy. He'll remember this. We went to this tour. Andy had put us on a list to go to this tour that was at the there's telescopes. I don't know. The National Astronomy something place. And like they set the time there. It's like I forget the vice president's house is there too. I don't know. I'm sorry. I was not prepared for this story. So anyway, we go on this tour and like part of what they do there is they set like the accurate time from this place. They've also got like a big telescope and stuff. And there was like a weird motley crew of people that were there that night for this weird tour we were on. And this man was like, I'm just here for the time. And we were like, okay. And he was wearing a shirt that had like clocks all over it. So they had a lot of cool clocks there. So I was like, oh, so are you like a clock enthusiast? And he was like, a time enthusiast. A time enthusiast. And we just, like, Andy and I just could not stop laughing at that. We were like, the time child. Like, we couldn't. Time. Anyway, so she's a time enthusiast, like this guy. He had said that he had 20 clocks in his house that were set like perfectly to Greenwich time. And I'm like, that's this lady.
It is. Yeah, Alexandra. So she's a time wizard, and then Penny is
she's an animal person.
Yeah, she's basically if ladies were allowed to be veterinarians, and if those existed in England times, that's what she would be.
They're barely even allowed to be vegetarians.
Yeah, she's also a vegetarian, which we'll get to later. It's so cute. So they come up with more nicknames, and they're best friends.
I mean, this is the first book in a series. The other 3 are going to be about these ladies, right?
I surely hope so. And if not, Tessa, if you're listening, hi, if you're listening, I wouldn't hate at least a novella about each of these ladies. Right?
But it's got to be.
That would.
Otherwise, what's the point of this, right?
I hope so. I love them. Well, and one of them meets a man in a weird way. Yeah.
The time child. Time Lord.
Yeah, Alexandra can't hold her shit together when she's
that's
talking
gotta
to someone.
Be it. Okay, so they meet or whatever.
And then back at the house, Ash hears like these big kerplops and bams, and she's taking down the curtains in one of the rooms because he's got the whole house just like basically boarded up. And there's great banter about him looking up her skirt because she's just standing on a ladder. And he's like, somebody needs to be holding this ladder.
We have servants for this. Why are you taking down curtains? And she wants to make a dress out of the curtains. He's like, you are a duchess. You don't sew your own dresses. We order dresses. You don't take down your own curtains. Like, stop doing this. And it's
really cute. And so he grabs her hand and he's like, there will be no more calluses, essentially. And she calls it caring. And he says, he's not a dictionary, but it's certainly not that. And she says, no, you are very much a man. and everyone loved it.
So then they go out to her cottage.
And then they hold hands. No.
Sorry.
Do not skip over when they held hands.
Yes.
It was so cute.
Oh, it was good in the early morning light streaming in through the window because she'd taken
wisps of her hair
curtains down. She said that it needed to be lighter in there. He can't always be in the darkness. And he's like, yeah, I can. And they hold hands, they lock eyes, and he's like, this is so dangerous. We shouldn't be doing this because we've got to part ways as soon as you get knocked up. And she's like,
yes, precautions. And then they part. Okay. And then they go to
Swanley.
So they go and they get marooned by their driver.
Yeah. So they go out there so that she can write down all the improvements that need to be made because there's no furniture, there's no linens,
There's
nothing
nothing
in this house. It's
There's
an
no
old country
wood
house.
in this house.
Yeah, no wood.
There's
no
nothing.
So she writes down all her improvements. They go to the carriage, and the carriage is gone. And she's like, "Oh no,
The servants got us.
yeah,
Yep.
they're not going to be back till the morning because they want us to."
Yeah, and I love this because she like refuses to huddle for warmth with him because
We
she's
can't.
just like, no, that's what they want.
They want us to
and he's
huddle.
like, and he's a little bit like, oh, really now? And she's like, no, I don't object to you. I object on principle. But long story short, they huddle, everyone. Because she starts shivering. She starts shivering uncontrollably.
I can't make the long story short because this is when I fell in love with the Duke.
Oh, tell me all about it.
His story about the Mad Duchess.
No! I love that too.
She hears
Oh my
this
God.
like scraping noise. So it's pitch dark because there's no candles. There's no anything in this house to keep them warm or lit. And so they're in pitch dark and there's this like scraping noise upstairs. And she's all like, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that. That's the resident ghost. It's a haunted house. That's the Mad Duchess." And she's like, "The Mad Duchess?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, every country house has a ghost." And then he made his voice mysterious. I'm sorry, I'm going to read it.
Please, I'm biting my fingernail over here. I love
The
it.
story is that my great-grandfather took a wife, a bride of convenience, for the purposes of siring an heir. She was pretty enough, but he began to regret the match soon after the honeymoon. "Why?" she asked. 100 reasons. She tore down the curtains. She conspired with the servants. She called him ridiculous names. Worse, she had a demon consort that assumed the form of a cat. "Oh, really?" "Yes, really." "She sounds terrible." "Indeed." She was so much trouble that he locked her in a cupboard upstairs and kept her there for years. Years? That seems extreme. Extreme is what she deserved. She'd driven him mad, and he'd meant to return the favor. Locked her up, tossed her a crust or a dampened sponge from time to time, and on cold nights you can still hear her scratching and clawing to get out. It was so good. And she's like, "You're a cruel and horrid man."
Oh my gosh, it is really good. And you know what? This should be when you fall in love with him because this is basically David running Rue's social media account.
This is David doing everything David does. Like, you think Rue's social media account is the beginning and end? No. This is constant. This is my life. Yeah.
I love it so
you
much.
know, he hides constantly in the house. I've told you this, right?
What?
Oh my God.
No.
Like, it's just like a constant thing. Anytime where his car's in the driveway, I don't have eyes on him, he's hiding. And he's going to jump out at me. It's like a constant thing. He will wait.
Okay, I would hate that. I almost punched my foreign exchange student in the face. Like I did.
Is that
punch
story
her in the face.
related or just?
Yeah, she jumped out at me and she never did it again because I just reflexively punched her in the face. I'm sorry, Lun. I'm glad that I didn't break your nose.
He will hide under the bed for like an hour to like commit to this. And one time I was home and his car was in the driveway and I knew he was hiding and I was skulking around the house and I'm like, "I know you're hiding. You know, this is bullshit." And like I looked in every closet and under everything, and I went into the backyard. I went everywhere, and I was like, "I know you're in here, motherfucker! Like I know that you're hiding." And like he's done this where it's been like a long time. So finally, I just sat in the middle of the basement and I turned on like The Bachelor, and I just kept loudly being like, "I'm gonna know if you're behind me," you know. And after like an hour and a half, I called him. Because I thought maybe his phone would go off. And he's like, "What's up?" And I was like, "I know you're here. Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm at Buffalo Wild Wings with Chuck. We're watching a game or whatever." And I was like, oh, cool. And he was laughing so hard. He's like, "You thought I was hiding in the house? For how long?" It was like an hour and a half. I had all the lights on. Like every light in the house was on. It was bad.
Oh,
Felt like an idiot.
so funny. He's conditioned you.
He really has.
He loved it. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yes, this is my everyday. Okay,
so she's cold. He holds her. Then they fall asleep. She wakes up and she's like, "Oh, I have to make myself pretty for when he wakes up." And she fixes her hair and pinches some her cheeks and everything.
Puts
and
her hands under her face.
Pretending to be asleep all daintily. And then he wakes up, looks at her, and he goes, good morning. I'm dying for a piss.
And he's like, oh, is it morning?
Yeah. She does that thing where women sneak out and brush their teeth and then sneak back in.
But they do cuddle together. She's very, very cold just as a person that night. Like
everyone.
What?
I love this heroine.
Yeah. So I just wanted to note her coldness, and I just wanted to say,
and she shivers and shivers.
Boom, boom, boom. Military knowledge with Erin, as a trained Army Arctic warrior. Don't say the C in Arctic. I gotta get my.
Oh my God, you Arctic warrior.
So listen, guys, if you have been a cold weather injury in the past, which this woman has been, you are at a much higher risk to be a cold weather injury in the future. So a lot of times that poor Emma is shivering or later on fainting or losing feeling in her toes and fingers, there is no weather that is too cold. There is just not enough gear, and Emma almost never has enough gear. So I just wanted to caution everyone: if you've been a cold weather injury, make sure you're prepared. All right.
Yeah.
That was my little consent rant. That's Bing
boom bong.
Yeah. Bing boom bong. The face you made during that, my safety rant just now, is how I feel when.
You know what?
I was with consent.
You. I was so supportive of you and your cold weather gear rant. Okay. I was there. I was giving you all of my attention. I was not snoring in the corner like a jackalope.
I don't snore? How dare you? Like a jackalope? Who was that? What was that?
I have no idea. Oh my God, last night.
And now you're a member of the reindeer mafia?
I had a reindeer mafia moment last night with Michael. We were sitting at the we were watching 3 Billboards, and which is so good, P.S. We also watched Fish Penis this week.
Oh, how was it?
And it was also it was so good. I love that movie. It was so good. Okay, but
so
get back
would you
to
have sex with the fish man, like the poll we put out on our Facebook? Yes,
maybe.
Yeah, for the story, or because you're in love with the fish man?
For the story, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so last night at some point, I don't remember exactly what happened. Oh, there's a moment in 3 Billboards with a bunny, and I was like. Michael was reminding me something about this $7 bunny, and he was like, yeah, because it costs $7, and I was like, oh yeah, the $7 duck, and he was like, duck, it was a bunny, and I just burst out with ribbit.
What?
I just ribbited at him.
Oh, you didn't get your brain right.
I don't know what happened.
You need to make your brain better.
I don't think I can. And also, it's just entertaining enough that I don't know if I want to. Because every time I randomly burst out calling you a jackalope, it's a surprise to me too.
Oh man.
Okay.
No wonder you like Sandra in Love Hacked so much.
I do. I love her.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So the next thing.
So Alexander comes over to set all their clocks because Emma understands what it is to be a working woman. And she's like, okay, you're going to come and set all our clocks weekly, and you're going to charge us 5 times the rate you normally charge. And I'm going to tell all of my future friends, which I probably won't ever have. So they end up in Ash's bedroom because they're looking for another clock for her to set.
Where Emma's never been.
And Ash is playing something. She's probably playing badminton.
Something.
Yeah. So she takes her up, and they hear him coming in, and she pushes Alexandra behind a couch and jumps back there with her. And Alexandra's like, what are we doing? This is your husband. Just tell him we were in here and then we'll go.
It's not a big deal. And Emma
she's like,
flutters her hands and she's like, I panicked. I don't know. Just I don't know. He's going to be mad. I don't know. And so and Alexandra, bless her heart, just kind of
goes with it.
Can I just got a text from Dana. It says, hello, are you talking in the internet right now? He doesn't understand. Are you talking in the internet?
Okay. So
joke's on him. I can't text him back because I'm talking on the internet.
It's true. Okay. So he comes in and she watches him. He starts undressing so that he can take an England Times sponge bath. And he starts disrobing, and she sees the rest of his scars on his back. And she's like, oh my God, this is so much more than I originally thought. Like, wow. She's really floored by it. And she's also really impressed and even more attracted to him because she's like, look at all the things he's overcome.
Right.
Look at all this nonsense.
Because there's like literally chunks of him missing.
Yeah. Oh, my poor darling.
Not that
darling
pain,
angel.
though. Toxin pack.
That's right. Then Alexandra has a thing that falls on the ground and he's like, who's in here? Because he goes from 0 to murder anytime he thinks there's an intruder. And I don't hate that about him, I don't think.
I don't either.
So she fesses up and she's like, it's me.
It's me, and I'm definitely alone. And then she distracts him for long enough that Alexandra can then crawl out the door because she's a true friend. And she's just like,
well, and wait,
I don't understand this, but...
Exactly. And I love this moment because she's trying to make sure that he doesn't look, lest the whole situation devolve into what she calls Dante's lesser-known invention, the 6th octagon of awkward. I was like, it's amazing.
So he's angry because he thinks that she snuck in there to see him and like ogle at his scars
and not ogle, gawk.
Oh, that's the same thing to me. Does ogle have like a love connotation?
Ogle is supposed to have like a nice.
Oh, okay, like gawk, stare. Like look at the curiosity.
Like treat her like a freak show, right? Treat him like a freak show.
And he even says that. He's like, freak shows, you can pay, whatever.
Right, a sixpence.
An England coin to go watch a freak show for even less and see something not even as hideous as this,
Yeah, and she obviously takes offense to this because she's like, no, that's not even close to what it is. Like, not at all. And he can't fathom anything else. So he's like turning in a circle for her. He's really making a meal of this, being like, good, take your fill. Look at the freak. And she's like, no, I don't. I've caught you staring before. Right. And she says, yes, you have caught me staring, but not for the reason that you think. And he's like, well, what other possible reason could there be? And she goes, because I'm infatuated with you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, infatuated? Like, what? And she just runs. She just lifts her skirts up and hightails it out of there because she cannot face him anymore. And it's really cute. And then at dinner, she forces him to talk more about it. And they're going back and forth because he's like, are you sure it's infatuation?
Are you sure you're not getting your period?
I know.
Like, I've been told that there's like maelstorms of irrational emotion around that time. And, maybe that's what's going on. And she's like, well, now there is.
Yeah. And so she's like, no, it's going to end either way. It's definitely, I felt infatuation before. It's definitely going to end. You either wake from the spell or you fall in love. And he's like, well, what happened last time? And she goes, well, I thought I fell in love, but it was really the former when I saw his true colors. And he's like, well, fine. I can make you not like me. Sure. Like, I can do that. I'll just tell you that I don't feel the same way about you. And bless her, my beautiful starshine Emma, she goes, I wouldn't believe you. Right. Because I think you're infatuated with me too.
Yeah. Because you come to my room a little bit earlier every night. And he's like, to get it over with. And she's like, but you also stay later.
A little bit longer.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you keeping charts about my virility?
Yeah,
and she goes, don't say that you wouldn't love it if I did. It's so good.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, fine, you know what? Fine. If that's what she thinks, I'm not going to her bed at all tonight. Yeah. That'll teach her. That'll show her. And so she comes to, so he's in bed and he's like, think of pus. Think of, because when she's describing infatuation, she's like, you can just hear their name over and over again in your head.
A song that just sings their name. Yeah, he says, let's see. He thought of the most unappealing things his imagination could conjure. Shards of fire propelled with bullet force, colliding with his face, vomiting himself dry while quitting opium. Oh, yeah, he was on opium after his thing.
Yeah.
He had to quit opium. Pus, not even the mildly repulsive yellow sort. Green, oozing. Malodorous. Oh, yeah. Malodorous. I know that word.
There you go.
Pus. That helped for a few minutes, but apparently his brain didn't want to dwell on those memories anymore. Not when his mind could so easily reach for her. Emma, 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 Emma is the song singing her name.
And then she comes to his room, and he's like, what do you think you're doing here? And she goes, well, you didn't come to my room, so here I am.
And I owe you something.
Yes. In the spirit of fairness, I owe you something. And so she starts undoing the buttons of her shift. And he's like, his immediate thing is, Jesu Maria. And he like sits up further so that he can see her. And she unbuttons everything. And then she drops her shift. And she goes, I didn't have a cat. Breeches, I found him the morning that I came to you.
It's like, why are we talking about a cat?
Yeah. And she's like, he didn't even have a name when I got here. And he's like, okay, why don't you? Oh, no, she says, I have a confession to make. And he says, I hope it's a long one.
I was about to interrupt you.
Yeah.
And it is.
So it is. It's good. And it's a good one.
Yeah.
So she says, he didn't have a name. And do you want to know why his name was Breeches? And he's like, oh, sure, whatever. Whatever you want to say out loud right now is fine. And she goes, because that's where I was looking, admiring the way you filled out yours. And he goes, admiring?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, I'm wildly attracted to you. And I have been from the start. And it goes on and on and on. And it's so good.
He echoes admiring. She says, yes, perhaps even lusting. That settled it. None of this was real. He was dreaming, and the Lord let him never wake. Oh, so good. Did they do sex then?
Oh, boy, howdy do they. Oh, wait. So she goes, I'm wildly attracted to you, physically attracted to you.
Oh.
I have been from the first. And yes, I've done a great deal of staring. She stepped free of her pooled chemise.
All right.
I want you with a keen, carnal passion. I won't pretend otherwise, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, get out, because the only thing I can think to do to you are like the most depraved things possible. And she goes, you keep saying things as if they're threats. And I don't know why.
Yeah, he says, go now before I use you in ways you don't want to be used. She swept a gaze over him, biting her bottom lip. It's not being used if I want it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Right before that, he goes, I have a bad side, Emma. One that has nothing to do with my scars. You've no idea what I'd like to do to you. Push you against a wall. Drive my cock into your sweet, wet heat. Tup you senseless, raw, so hard that you wouldn't walk for days. And that's only to start.
My heart soared. I was like, is this historical?
Oh my God. I was so in it. I was there. And so was Emma.
Uh-huh.
God bless her. God bless her sweet, sweet face.
Um,
Oh, yeah. And so she goes, was that meant to put me off? Because if so, it must have backfired.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So then he pushes her up against the post and he kisses her all over her neck, not her lips, her neck and her breasts and everything else. And then he touches her and then he bends her over and it goes after her there. And it's incredible. And they have some really hot doggy style sex.
I really like this.
Go
Please,
ahead.
she said, please, I want...
Yes, I was just about to read that.
You know what I want. He says, if you want my cock, then tell me so. I want to hear you say it. I can't, she says. You can. After all, it's in Hamlet.
It's in Hamlet. That's right. Well, and she has this great moment where she's like, I'm more comfortable with it being inside me than like saying it out loud,
Right.
but like maybe that's why he wants to hear me say it. And so she does. Oh, and then there's some excellent talk while he's. Oh, okay, hold on. Here. I love it when I have a personal love of making like sex akin to drug addiction sometimes. Like it just works for me somehow. I don't know, man.
What?
So he goes, I've lived in the grip of laudanum. I know what it's like to crave, to tremble with wanting, to be ruled by need. It nearly destroyed me. This is worse. There's no respite. As soon as I leave your bed, I'm counting the hours until the next night. Like, it's just so good. So, anyway, it goes on, and everyone loved it. And then...
yeah, then she stays with him for the first time.
Yeah, because they're gonna go for a hat trick, as our Rachel Gibson would say.
Yeah.
And other people in culture.
He says, tell me you aren't too scandalized. And she's like, I am scandalized the perfect amount. Thank you. But my legs are jelly and I want to lay down.
Yeah.
So then her feet are ice because, again, she's had a cold weather injury and she needs to not play with this.
Oh, boy.
Circulation.
Yep.
It's a problem.
Don't play with it, everyone. So he starts rubbing her feet and then he's like, tell me about this boy. And I love this PS because she's like, why would you want me to do that? And he's like, because I want to write them down. I love keeping track of the people I hate. He said this earlier. I like to write it down in little books and pore over it and like laugh ominously.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So then she tells him the thing that happened to her. She had a flirtation with the squire's son. She was convinced that on this night of a dance, he was going to ask her to marry him. She made herself... Yeah. And she made herself this beautiful red dress, and she was so excited for it because she thought it was the day she was going to be betrothed. And they go off to a corner, and she's like... Then he started kissing me, and then it went further. And even then, I really thought he was just going to ask me to marry him after. Mm-hmm. Like, I was so dumb.
He was taken by the romance of it all.
Yeah, just like she was. But turns out, no, he's an asshole. And so...
They were caught.
And her vicar father called her a Jezebel and a strumpet, told her no man would ever want her, and threw her out into the England Times winter.
Yes. Which is colder than the current England Times winter.
Oh, I mean, you know what? She had slippers on at the very least.
Gear not up to
gear.
None
No
gear at all.
No gear. Then. Yeah, she may well have been just naked. Like, she may as well. Oh. Anyway.
What she was wearing was probably worse than being naked. Because there's probably a lot of silk and cotton and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So... Oh, because this all starts because he's rubbing her feet and she's like, no, don't touch that one. I'm missing a toe and it's unsightly and I don't want you to see it. And he's like, first of all, that's hilarious.
Take a seat.
Yeah. But it was so cold that on her walk to London,
she had to walk from Hertfordshire all the way to London, which is probably several London miles. I don't know.
So he is livid. She falls asleep and he goes to haunt her father. She goes all the way to Hertfordshire to the vicarage, climbs in his window, and freaks the fuck out at him. Wakes him in the middle of the night, and he's like, I'm a demon from hell. You did your daughter wrong, and you're going to hell unless you make amends with her, unless you're truly repentant and sorry and all the things. He really wanted to kill him.
He's so funny in this scene. I just loved how funny he was.
Yes, he's cursing only in Shakespeare. He's hilarious. It's so good. I was thoroughly charmed. You need to buy this book immediately and read it if you haven't.
He says something about how he has to go back to hell and like file a bunch of paperwork.
Yes. Oh yeah, because hell is flaming brimstone and bureaucracy. Yeah.
He's basically like, all right, I'm ready to take you to hell. And he's like, well, why are you going to hell? And he's like, because what you did to your daughter. And then he's like, wait a minute, what day is it? And this guy's like, Thursday. And he's like, Thursday, cock it. You know, like,
got the wrong day.
But I'll be back. It's a devil of a delay when there's so much to be done. Once you arrive in the internal furnace, there are sinful debts to be settled, hell to pay. It's not merely a saying. Then there are papers to be signed and filed. And he's like, papers to be filed? And he's like, naturally. It should come as no surprise to learn that hell is a vast, inefficient bureaucracy. It's amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's excellent. And then she's in his library getting books. And we have another patented Tessa Dare nerdgasm moment that I was so into.
I don't even know what
he walks in.
What is this?
Oh, he walks into his library and she's getting books down to be like, what do I want to read? Because let's review. He won't let her sew and she has nothing to do all day. So he walks in to find his wife ransacking the bookshelves. As he stood in the doorway watching, she tucked a stray wisp of dark hair behind her ear. Then she licked her fingertip and turned the page. His knees buckled. Mm-hmm. In his mind, he scrambled to piece that half second into lasting memory. The crook of her slender finger, the red pout of her lips, that fleeting, erotic glimpse of pink. She did it again. Ash gripped the door jamb so hard his knuckles lost sensation. He wanted her to read the whole cursed book. While he watched her, he wanted the book to have 1,000 pages. And then he's like, oh, and then she reaches up and goes on her tiptoes, and he sees the sexiest thing in England Times, which is the arch of her foot and white stockings. he's like, I can't handle it anymore.
Those meaty calves.
Ooh, give me those cankles. Yes, he goes over to her, and he's like, I was thinking that since this marriage is all about siring a child, we'll have much better luck if we do it more than once a day. And she's like, do you think so, dear heart? Or something like that. And he's like, that's just simple mathematics. And then he's so excited that she's into it.
Yeah.
And they have more sex against the bookshelf. And thus begins the saga of them having sex all over the house in the middle of the day, which is most excellent.
But then she sends him a note. She doesn't come to dinner one night, and she sends him a note. says that she's sick this week and she can't come to dinner. So he's like, oh, she got her period. And he knows he should be disappointed because she's not pregnant, but really he's like, I get another month of doing it. Yeah. Okay,
so then he goes out walking again, and Thomas decides that the monster needs a sidekick called the Menace, which is so cute. Yeah. He's like the little Robin to his Batman, and I loved it.
It's great.
Yeah. She shows him a recent monster articles and is like, this is not okay. People are only seeing one side of you. And he's like, yeah, that's great. That's the only side of me they're ever going to see.
Whatever is in all the gossip pages for all the awful things he's doing.
Yeah, and he's like, people aren't going to see past my scars anyway, so like, why the fuck not? Mm-hmm. And she's like, it doesn't have to be that way. And I loved this line. He goes, I'll make you a bargain. I won't pretend to know how it feels when strange men stare at your tits, and you won't pretend to know what it feels like when people stare at my face.
Fair.
Touche, sir. Mm-hmm. Touche. Mm-hmm. And then she asks him to tea with the gals. Mm-hmm. So they have adorable tea with sham sandwiches, which are supposed to be vegetarian ham sandwiches, which I can only imagine the grossness in England times.
Or current
It's so
times.
Cute. Okay, put yourself away.
Sorry.
And it's so cute. Like, the whole scene is adorable. He bonds with everyone just a tiny bit.
And it's like
he
the first time he's been out of the
Penny.
house during the day for like 2 years because he's so worried about his scars. So it's nice.
And all of them are so nice to him, and everything is wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then she's so happy with him that when they get back, she gives him this gloriously sensual and excellent BJ. Mm-hmm. After tea. And he's like, well, I would eat 100 of those sandwiches if I knew that.
But also he's like, wait, we're supposed to be procreating.
Yeah. And she's like, what are you going to do? Take me to court and say, my wife did put her mouth upon me? Like, it's so good. Okay, so then a wardrobe arrives. The wardrobe he told her that she had to order.
Yeah, he says you can't keep sewing your own dresses. You're a duchess. You have to order a wardrobe. So she does.
Orders him a wardrobe. She doesn't order. Oh, she still ordered a wardrobe, though. He never specified. And it's so sweet because it's she made it looser in the shoulders to accommodate his scars. She had them put in panels that are like softer fabric so that it wouldn't hurt so much. She made the colors different. Like, she really put a lot of time and effort into this, and it was so sweet. And then he basically is like, he can't bring himself to tell her all the lovey-dovey things he's thinking. Mm-hmm. So he's just an ass. And she's like, this is a unicorn vomit moment, and I want to murder you. Mm-hmm. And huffs off.
Yeah.
But then when she gets back, he's going to make it up to her. He has a brand new dress for her, and he's taking her to the theater.
Yeah, because he kind of gets scolded by Khan. Right?
Yeah. Khan is an excellent side character as well. This is filled with fabulous side characters.
Yeah, because Khan's like, you pissed her off. She did a nice thing for you. You could do a nice thing for her. Because she's kind of been begging him. So she's got this plan that she's going to whisk her friend Davina away to the country still. But to do that, her dad needs to give her permission to go away to the country with this duchess. So her dad's not going to give her permission to go away to the country with the new Duchess of Ashbury if he's not met the Duchess of Ashbury or the Duke of Ashbury. So she's been trying to get him out to social stuff so that, like, eventually Davina's dad will
meet this guy.
But, like, so she tried it a little bit with tea, and then she's, like, trying to coax him out more. But he's just like, no, tea was a one-time thing. I did it for you. It's over. So Khan finally convinces him to go to the theater.
So he takes her to the theater, and it's so sweet. He's like playing down in the lobby area of their house, because their house is a Duke house with a lobby. And it's so cute. Anyway, they go to the theater. Everything is wonderful. He tells her that she has to sit all the way at the front of the box because everyone needs to see the beautiful and wonderful new Duchess of Ashbury.
Can I talk about another moment when I fell in love with him, though?
Okay,
when
yes.
he's waiting for her at the bottom of the stairs. He's got his hat and his cane. And so he's like bored because she's late because she didn't know that this was happening. So she's got to take a little extra time to get ready. So he's like throwing his hat in the air and like catching it with his cane. And then she appears at the top of the stairs and he doesn't want her to know that he's like doing this silly thing. So he just throws the cane and it like crashes on the floor. And he's like, I'll have Khan see to that thing that's happening. I don't know what was going on. It's amazing. So good.
It's so good. Anyway, so then a little while later, he's like, okay, we have to go home now. Mm-hmm. And she's like, we're barely through the third act.
He's very restless in the theater.
Yes. And she's like, we're barely through the third act. And he goes, you're going to want to go home as well. Otherwise, you're going to slide over here onto my lap so I can take you right in this theater. And she goes, you keep saying things that only intrigue me.
I want to say one more thing. When he pulls her chair up to the front and he's like, you need to see the play. You've never been to the theater. And he's also like, he's trying to say, you should be seen. You wanted to be seen. You should be seen. So he says, tonight, he said, you will shine like a jewel, a ruby, an extraordinarily big ruby. He cocked his head. You'll be the world's largest ruby on record. I suppose. One with arms. And she's like, was that intended as a compliment? He sighed curtly. Let's begin again. You are my Duchess. You are beautiful, and everyone should know it. And as she took her seat, Emma tucked the words away to treasure later, and treasure them she would. You are beautiful. No matter what happened, she would always have that. And also the part about the jewel with arms, she supposed. That was my favorite. I love that line. The other thing, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So then he goes to get the carriage. Because they're going home and she is ready to go home. She's like a little bit, she's ready. And somebody comes into the box. She turns around thinking it's the Duke, and it's that fucking wench, that previous fiance of his. She basically tells her that he only brought her here and he only married her to spite her because she left him. And he's like, well, you know what? The best revenge is if I marry your seamstress. Right. Which doesn't make any sense, but I totally understand why she freaks out.
Yeah. And she says, it's the first Thursday of the month. My family goes to the theater on the first Thursday of the month, and he's brought you here on this night specifically.
This is where we met.
And she's like, let me guess. He pulled you all the way to the front of the box to tell you that you needed to see the theater. Well, really, he wanted you in the front of the box
to see you.
Everybody to be seen. And she's like, he was antsy, and he was staring at me the whole time. Like, how could he be so stupid? It was
horrifying. So Emma is freaking out. The Duke comes back and he, bless him, eviscerates this woman in the most polite way possible. But Emma doesn't hear it because she slipped out and she's fucking off. So
there's something really good in here about like the woman that used to kneel at her feet.
Yeah, she says, I'm not going to curtsy to the woman who used to kneel at my feet.
Yeah, there was something about her kneeling for him or something. I forget what it was. It was like, it was something like, just because you get on your knees for him now, don't forget that you used to kneel at my feet. It was awful. It was so cutting, and now I can't find it, but it was awful, terrible.
It was horrifying.
Yeah, then he eviscerates her. However, what's her face? Emma is already gone because she's horrified by this.
Yeah. She's running, and it's raining out, so he runs after her to catch her. He finally catches up to her. It's full on downpouring. And I saw a tweet that Tessa Dare did where she was like, the question was like, what's your favorite writing device? And she goes, rain. Fighting in the rain, kissing in the rain, doing anything in the rain. And this rain scene, my friend, checked all my boxes. It was the best. It was the best. And it was a great...
I honestly, as soon as this started, was like, she doesn't have a cloak. She's wearing cap sleeves. That's all she's got. And we know she's a cold weather.
She's a cold weather survivor.
You need to get her out.
Okay.
With that rain.
No, it's true. Well, and we'll get to that later. So they have this fight-ish thing where she's like, you brought me here because of her. And he's like, don't be daft. And they finally make up. It's beautiful. Please buy the book and read it yourself if you haven't already. I'm going to say it again. And he goes to like make everything up to her, and he pulls her into his arms and he kisses her, and they have this beautiful, gorgeous, earth-shattering rain kiss. And then he picks her up. Because she faints. She faints.
Yeah.
And he carries her to the nearest inn and gets a room. And she's like, no, don't be ridiculous. Like, this is too much. We can go home. And he goes, it'll take an hour to get home. She goes, that doesn't matter. What's an hour? He goes, 60 minutes too many, he said testily. You're wet and you are cold. You don't like being cold. Therefore, I despise you being cold. I would go about murdering raindrops and setting fire to the clouds, but that would take slightly more than an hour, perhaps even 2. So we're here, and you will cease complaining about it. Like, that's one of the moments I truly, and once again, fell in love with him. I was just like, murder the raindrops. Set fire to the clouds.
See, that stuff just doesn't do it for me as much as like the Hat and Cane sort of moments or the
that
Duchess.
did it for me too.
Yeah.
Yes. But I just, we're going long, so I was trying to, I don't know. Okay. So then,
so the next morning,
so
so
the next morning,
fast-forwarding
Thomas
or-
shows up. Yeah, well, they don't do sex because he's a gentleman and she's
but
a
they
cold
do
weather
snuggle and
injury
gets her
survivor.
some tea. It's very nice.
Oh, it's so sweet.
But here's my logistics. Burp, burp, pew. Logistics
Beep, boop.
with Erin. She's naked because he takes the dress off. I think they even rip the dress, maybe?
Oh, yeah, no, the dress is in shreds.
She's super naked.
Yeah, that's the best thing to warm people up. She's on his cloak with his jacket over her, which isn't a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Tom bursts in the next morning and she gets up, walks over to Tom, is like, nice to meet you. Then they go home in the carriage. I'm like, what the fuck is she wearing? Tessa, what was she wearing?
I don't know either. Tessa, we don't know what she was wearing.
Was it a bikini like Shades of Vampires? Is that what England ladies
I can assure
in?
you, Tessa Dare did not have that kind of reckless moment.
She didn't have her sleeping in a wet bikini.
How dare you?
Okay, I'm sorry.
How dare you, sir? Okay.
Okay,
so then Tom shows up and he saves the day. He's like, I've got a carriage waiting.
Wait, we didn't even say what's happening. There's this crowd gathering outside because the innkeeper reported to somebody the monster of
Fair.
Yep. Monster of Mayfair is here and he has taken a woman in red who's unconscious up there and he's probably murdering her. So there's like a mob outside. So Thomas shows up in what is now his Tom the Menace costume, which is like a fencing mask.
Fencing kit.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
And so he's like, what we'll do is we'll switch outfits. I will be the menace of the monster of Mayhaps, and then be the menace of Marmarna. And we go downstairs and I'll distract everybody for a few minutes so that you can get away. So that's what they do and they go back to the house.
So next, she goes back to the dress shop for reasons that we don't have to talk about. She goes to fit Davina or something. And her dad shows up to...
make amends.
No. to make her forgive him, that fucker.
Yeah.
Like, it has nothing to do with making amends. Yeah. And so in this, that indignant motherfucker, in this moment, he's like, you cannot, like, begrudge me this one thing that I need. And she's like, yes, I can. How about you come back to me in 6 years? Because that's how I felt. And I was so proud of her. Yes. It was so good. But then during this thing, he describes the demon that came to him. Mm-hmm. And he only cursed in Shakespeare. And it was so cute. And so she goes home and she's like, you went to my father's house. And he's like, yes.
And
like, I'm not gonna deny it. And he's like, oh God, she's pissed. And she walks around his desk and she kisses him for all he's worth. And she says that nobody has ever stood up for her like that. And she doesn't know what to do with herself. So then he starts kissing her back. And then she wanted to like kiss him for all she was worth. And like, she wanted to worship him and give him everything about her. But the bodies were what were the order of the day right now. And so she starts.
The best.
Oh man,
sex scene. He's like, whatever I tell you not to do is what you do, and so he just starts telling her.
No, she says you should know that if you give me a command, I'll only do the opposite. Right. And so he's like, maybe I can make this work to my favor. Mm-hmm. And so he goes, don't lift your skirts and sit astride me. And so she does.
Yeah. She basically tells him he's afraid to be in love with her, and he's afraid to be with her, and he's afraid of it actually working out. Like he's not actually afraid of her being repulsed.
Yet.
Yeah, that's this one.
You know it is, but like they do a lot of things, and then she goes to open his shirt all the way, and he's like, no, don't do that. And she goes, no, you have to just do this for me. Bear it all. You're not afraid that I'm going to be repulsed by you. It's that you're going to be totally and completely accepted and loved and cherished and everything.
Says,
God, it's
make
so
love to
good.
Me, be brave with me. And that's when.
So then they start, and this contrary sex scene is so good. He has her touch herself.
Yeah, he has
like, her
don't touch me.
Finger
don't
herself.
Touch me everywhere. And then she touches him on his gnarly side. It's so
and
good.
then she starts kissing up and down. Oh, because he says, kiss me. Mm-hmm. He says, don't kiss me. And so she lavished both sides of him with equal attention and sweet, sweet tenderness until he felt his two halves knitting together in the center, somewhere close to his heart.
This is the kind of scholar looking that you can get down with.
Oh my God.
She didn't fetishize him. She was truly just equal attention
loving
to his whole body. That's what,
like she would
love.
Anybody.
Yes.
And Tessa the things you do with imagery, because she's been dropping like his good side and his scarred side, his la la and his la la la. And then this moment was a stroke of goddamn beautiful genius. Like, it was gorgeous.
And then he says, "Don't love me." And she's like, too late. And he's like, don't tell me the words. And she's like, I love you. And he's like, I love you too.
Oh.
We love each other. It's so good.
So then they come apart with each other. But then as they're finishing and as they're like forehead to forehead, she gets this like queasy look on her face. And she goes, I'm sorry. And she runs away and vomits. And he has a really hard time with this because that's exactly what this other lady did to him. Yeah. She saw him and she ran away and vomited.
And then she said, how could I ever lay with that? And he realized that he wasn't a man anymore.
That thing.
He was a thing.
He was a monster.
It's awful.
And she's also the one who came up with the rules. The no lights, no kissing, nighttime only, and then we're done after I give you an heir. And then that's when he was like, I don't want that kind of marriage. At least not with a person I care about. Because he did care about her at that point. He didn't know any better. And so he let her out of the engagement. And they told the story that she was the one who broke off the engagement. So he's like, not again. It says, God, please, not again. Not you. Don't leave me. Not now. Not ever. And she goes, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And he's like, I tried to warn you. It's grotesque. It's repulsive. I wish you would listen to me. Like, I'm not angry at you because I know it's gross. And she goes, you idiot. I'm not repulsed. I'm pregnant.
And she had done been pregnant the whole time. When she said she was sick, she was really just sick. And he's like, I thought you were being demure. Cold. And she's like, wait, do ladies just hide in their bed for a week when they're pregnant? No. Or when they have their period? No, when they're... Anyway.
She's like, no, I was a seamstress. You work. So, okay, now can we speed through the rest of it? Because it's gorgeous. Okay. He's telling her that they're going to like raise the child separately. Like, she'll still go off. And she's like, well, that sucks. And Davina comes in the middle of the night and she's like, you have to come meet my father. You have one more opportunity. It's a ball. That lady is throwing it, like the bad lady, the ex-fiance, Anne Worthing or whatever her name was. So she's like, okay, we have to do it. She goes up and he confronts her. He's like, what's going on? Who was that? She tells him the plan she's had all along. And this fucker,
he thinks she just married him for this plan to help her friend. And he realizes that's why she wanted the cottage ready. That's why she wanted him to go out with her. It's not that she loved him.
Then he goes, no wonder you were eager to spread your legs for me in every corner of the house. Right. The faster you dispatched your duty to get pregnant, the sooner you'd make your escape. Isn't that so? Like, it goes down. It's a heart-wrenching fight.
Horrible.
But she is not. She's like, no, that's ridiculous. First of all, you know me better than that. He's like, I don't think I do. He says, you go to the ball, fine, whatever. I can't stop you, but I'm not going with you. I'm not going to help you in this deception. I don't super blame him. You know, like, he has no skin in the game and it's a really weird thing to get pulled into. But still. So she makes a dress the next day.
She leaves. He says, our bargain is satisfied, aka you're pregnant. You needn't come back. And I was that is just as bad as I'm not going to write.
Do you ask if I... Yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh. So then, bless him, Khan, badass motherfucker that he is, butler of all time, is like, you idiot. So they're playing that other English game with the ball and the bat. Cricket. That's the one. And so he starts bowling like at this guy's head. And he's like, you're a dumbass. You've got to go after her.
Every man in her life has ever let her down. He tells him about men he didn't even know about that she's told Khan about that have let her down and have falsely acted like they're going to marry her or whatever. So he's like, okay, I got to go to the ball. So he like hastily gets his shit together to go to the ball because she's already left.
And then he goes to run out and the cat, demon cat, runs off. So he goes running after that, screaming, breach us, like a madman. Somebody catches him and takes him to jail because they think he's the monster of Mayfair.
He's wanted for murder of the lady in the red dress in the end.
And this was a bit, I didn't like this very much because I felt it was like, I'm glad it wasn't longer, but it also felt a little bit too quick and tied up in a bow. But, like, basically, the ladies from across the square figure out somehow that he's in jail.
Tessa gets to
pool all their money together.
Another, like, political... Oh, I didn't say the first time. You saw Nevertheless She Persisted earlier in the book, right?
Yes, I did.
Her dad was like, she was warned, she was told, you know, blah, blah, blah. But nevertheless, she persisted in her sexing of this man.
That's right.
Then he was like, well, he's trying to talk to the jailers, and they're like, you've murdered people, you've kicked children, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but I've also done nice things. Didn't you see the ones about the nice things? And he's like, fake news. False news.
No, he says false news.
And he's like, but you believed the ones about me doing the bad stuff. Why wouldn't you believe the ones about me doing the good stuff? And they're like, false news. The good stuff was false news. I was like,
it was so timely and delicious.
We just
Tessa
lost
Dare to
maybe
persist.
one listener that was like, no, just in a political podcast. I didn't know about that.
I don't care. Okay, so they bribe the jailer, get him out. He leaves his top coat with the drunk in the jail cell.
So kind.
He's like, take care of your cough. And then he runs to the ball. He bursts into the ball. He's looking like a crazed person.
Wait, what does he say? Where is it? Where he says, yes, I have scars all over my body.
Oh, yeah,
You have exactly 3, because everyone's looking at him. He's like, I'm scarred all over my body. You have exactly 3 seconds to get over it.
He goes, 1, 2, right. Where's my wife?
Yeah. So she has figured out, she's
good.
talking to Davina and her father, trying to convince her father to let Davina go with her to the country so that she could have her baby and they can hide it.
And Davina immediately bursts into noisy sobs and confesses everything because it's actually love that has made her not want to tell her dad.
She feels he'll be sad and worried about her.
Yeah.
And
she doesn't want him disappointed in her. Not that he would turn her
yeah,
out.
Emma couldn't even imagine that because she's never known that kind of love from a family. And it was just so sweet.
Ugh.
So she ends up just telling her dad, and no one has to lie or whisk anyone away to the country. And
then they dance. She walks around like a wife who's proud to be on her husband's arm because that's what she is.
Make out on the
And
dance
kiss
floor
on the
like it's
dance
1995.
floor.
It's nice. It's good.
Oh, it's so good. And then they have Christmas at Swanley, and in the epilogue, they give Khan the cottage on the compound on the estate so that he can have his retirement. And
they make him the godfather of their child, and then they have outside sex.
Richmond. Oh my god! And then they have the most glorious outside sex,
tooth-achingly sweet.
Yes, she tries to leave her shift because her body has changed, and he's not the only one with vanity. And he's like, I am not even going to dignify that with conversation. Like, take it off, woman. It's so good. And then Tessa did something that I love. She had them have a simultaneous orgasm, but she also said how rare those are. She acknowledged that is rare. It's not a thing that happens most of the time, everybody. Unlike 50 fucking shades of all the awful. Like, thank you for giving it to us because it does happen, but acknowledging that it's a unicorn. Thank you. And that's
it.
Go read the book. Go buy the book. Buy
book.
3 copies. Keep them in your house so that when your friends come over, you can give them away. Like, be a friend, everybody.
Oh, also,
have extra copies of this lying around.
I was just sitting here thinking, okay, who recommended this book to us? Who was our reviewer that recommended this book? It was Tessa fucking Dare. That's who recommended this book.
That's right.
She commented on our Facebook thing for When a Scott Dies or Not, and she's like, hey guys, you should read the Duchess Deal.
Thanks for the shout out.
Which is shameless promotion of her newest book. Like, we see you, Tessa. We know what the deal is, but we do not care.
But also, here's the thing.
We are here for it.
Well, and we also did it on a date where I had another Tessa Dare book scheduled. So, like, she didn't usurp another author.
But
it was going to be the Huntress of something or other, which I'm sure is fan-fucking-phenomenal anyway. That's not how that goes. That's okay.
Fan-phenomenal.
Fan-fucking-phenomenal. There we go. So, yeah, our esteemed listener, Tessa Dare.
Can't.
I don't think she actually listens. I don't think she does.
First,
I would die.
First, we have Miss
Erin.
Price. Now we have Miss Dare.
I know.
God,
I know.
Damn it. Okay, do you have a lady love, self-love?
Fuck.
It's okay. I heard something this week that I want to share.
Yeah.
I had a total crash this week. I haven't been sleeping. I've been working too much. I've been overextending myself in myriad ways, as I usually do. But the problem is you can burn the candle at both ends and kind of like keep it going, but you can't just like toss it into the fire and expect to like still live.
Yes.
So like I wasn't eating, I wasn't hydrating, I wasn't sleeping, it was real bad. And I ended up in like a shaking fetal position, hypoglycemic situation earlier this week. Don't do that. And then I re-listened to Elizabeth Gilbert's podcast, the last one in the last season of Magic Lessons. She has a delightful podcast. And I didn't research this well enough. I don't remember who she was talking to. I do not know who these quotes are by. But you know that quotation that's like, you have to give up being perfect to be good? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I don't know who said it, but you know that thing like you have to give up perfect to be good. Then one of their other friends, another probably famous person who I don't know who it is, added to that and said, not only do you have to give up being perfect to be good, you have to give up being good to be free.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Just let that wash over you for a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my lady love this week. I was like, that was such a light bulb for me. So there you go.
Yeah.
And I wish I know who said it, but I don't. And unfortunately, my phone's on FaceTime, and that's where my podcasts are. So
no, you know what? I'll make sure to put it in the episode notes,
cool.
So you can find it there. Okay, you know what? I do have a lady love, and it is that book that you sent me.
What book I sent you?
Forever ago. You
Beauty
sent
and the
me a
Mustache
book.
by Penny Reed.
No,
damn it.
No, it's the
Sorry,
I can't even. You're
favorite.
gonna know. I know. You're going to know what it's called, but you sent it to me when I was in a different, like, crazy rough patch. It might have been when I had the miscarriage before Ember.
Oh, the Illustrated Guide to Enlightenment or whatever?
Yes.
Yes.
Illustrated Guide to Enlightenment by...
I don't know.
We'll put it in the episode notes.
I'm sitting in my bookshelf, though. I should be able to find it.
Anyway, I'll put it in the episode notes. It's an incredible book by...
Here it is.
Like a
Your
Buddhist
Illustrated
thinker.
Guide to Becoming One with the Universe by... Yumi?
No.
That's not it?
No.
Oh,
No,
are you
it's
talking
the
about the
one-
Pema Chodron book that I sent you?
Yes.
Okay, I don't remember
Yes.
which one. Probably When Things Fall Apart.
Yes, it is When
Yeah,
Things Fall
Ani
Apart.
Pema
Yes.
is a Buddhist nun, an American Buddhist nun. I think the first Tibetan Buddhist nun who's an American, and she's phenomenal. She's not the only, but I think she was the first. She's got lots of great programs out there. I recently took one of her courses that she put out for her 80th birthday. Anyway, sorry. Yep.
Oh my
It's a
gosh.
great book.
So I was going through When Things Fall Apart because I needed to. And there's just there was the smallest little notion in there that I latched onto, which is I'm going to botch it, but I'm going to try. There's the sky and bad things are the cloud.
I got it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Things that happen to you are the weather, but you're the sky, and the weather doesn't change the sky. You are the sky. You are not the weather. Yeah.
Oh God! And right before you sent me the book, you said that to me, and like I'm getting a little teary right now, just remembering like the way that it helped me in that moment. And yeah, so I have two lady loves. One is When Things Fall Apart, but the other one is Get Yourself a Friend Like Erin McCarthy. Because
But I also sent you this other book, which is Your Illustrated Guide to Becoming One with the Universe by Yumi
you never sent me that.
I did. And you
never
clearly
sent
haven't
me
read
that.
it, so you should.
You didn't send me.
I will screenshot the fucking Amazon thing.
Fuck.
Oh man, sorry. No, I'm just trying to lighten the moment since we're crying now.
I know. I know we're crying. Okay. Anyway, listener, you are the sky. You are not the weather. And Erin, you too.
Yep. And stop being perfect so you can be good, and stop being good so you can be free.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. So keep being a badass.
Okay, HBs, that's it for us. You can find us at Heaving Bosoms Podcast on Facebook, Heaving Bosoms Podcast at gmail.com, at Heaving Bosoms on Instagram, and at Heaving_Bosoms on Twitter. We got so many good emails this week, and so much positive feedback about our decision to split up the longer episodes. We just have really appreciated all the support and love we've gotten from all of you this week. So we just want to say thank you so much for being so understanding and so supportive of us. So have a great week.
Keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love giant rubies with arms. Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.